Welcome back to another live session with Wildlife TV. You see it? So, peeps, today we're going to talk a bit about the new Firearms Act. You know, the Firearms Act was the new Firearms Act was introduced in the year 2022. You get me, I say, people. So it has been around for a short time. But you know, I noticed that a lot of Jamaicans did not take the time out to try and read and understand what this act is really talking about. Because I posted a video recently speaking about this act and some consequences that one can face for breaching this act. And you know, persons were laughing and taking it for a joke when I made the video, and I was telling persons that you can find yourself in prison for up to 15 years for threatening someone to use a firearm and bring harm to them. You know what I mean? You know, persons were asking if that goes for the police. You know, persons were saying all sort of stuff. Some people were talking about their freedom of speech and so on and so forth. A lot of persons don't really support it, but at the end of the day, the law is the law, and it is a very, very powerful law, people. You see it? This law was basically created as a deterrent to prevent persons from coming in contact with firearms and from using firearms to do anything at all. You get the massive people? That is how serious this new Firearms Act is. And some people are out here taking it for a joke because under this acting of people, if you are caught with a firearm, you know the maximum sentence, a life in prison. You know what I mean? Them not really give you under 15 years, no matter how your lawyer cry. And this are the new Firearms Act there. So most of the convictions are life in prison. You see what I'm people? Yeah, man. So the new Firearms Act state that if you go to a person and you use intimidation to tell them say, you what, no, you need to give me some money, or me I go for my friend gun, or me have my gun and me I go shoot you. It's basically that you are threatening the person because you're professing that you have a firearm and that you will bring harm to that person. You get me I say? I saw that drop in people, you see me? So it has to be to gain an unlawful benefit. With the police, it is different because if the police look at an individual with a machete and say, sir, put down the machete, stop advancing, or I will shoot, then that's a different situation because that was not to gain an unlawful benefit. That was to gain a lawful benefit because the man of the machete, he can chop you with it, you know, say machete can cause serious harm. So when the police say, sir, drop the machete or I will shoot, a difference something that. Because if you read the law, what the law says, to gain an unlawful benefit or unlawful apprehension. You understand? So if you tell a person, say, I have a gun in my waist, come with me, or if I have a drop the gun at the public, you go dead, then that simply means you get the person to cooperate with you because of intimidation with the use of a firearm. You get what I say? So people have to understand that. You see me? And this act goes way deeper than that. You get what I say, people? So you know, we are now, so we'll take a little look as it relates to what the law say. You see what I say? As I say, I realize a lot of persons not too interested to go read it for themselves to see what go on. But when you talk about it, you know, persons have negative things to say and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, the law is the law, and the law is bigger than everyone. Some persons say that our police exempt from the law. No one is exempted from the law. You see what I say? Everybody have to conform to the law. So the law is something where nobody at all can go around. You see what I say, people? Yeah, man. So we'll take a little look at some other aspects of the new Firearms Act. You see what I say, people? As I say, the information is on Google. All you have to do, I type it in. I want to type it in. You see the new Firearms Act come up. If you want, you can take out the phone now and you can type in new Firearms Act Jamaica or whatever it is, depending on where you are in the world. You jump on it and we're going to take a look at the new Firearms Act, some aspects of it, and see how best we can relate to it and how we need to protect ourselves against falling in a certain trap. You see what I say? Because the new Firearms Act are tricky. You see what I say? Because they have a section where we talk about the tie gun. You see what I say? You can't have ties. You see what I say? And find yourself in a trouble for tie gun. You see what I say? So you don't have to be able to fire around for you to get into, as a matter of fact, for you find yourself with a life sentence. You see what I say? So it's a serious thing and it's not to be taken lightly and it is not to be taken for a joke. You get what I say, people? The new Firearms Act out there on the media for all to see. You see me? So, I want to hope say the people them decide say they want check in with that and see what go on. And you know say a prohibited weapon. It's a point to note, people. A prohibited weapon is not just a gun. You know what I mean? You have different type of things that are prohibited. So if a man have a hand grenade, that fall under the prohibited weapon act. As a matter of fact, if a man have one of them tanker, you know what I mean? If a man have one of them old cannon there, where you see the old cannon them where you see put on a some museum for amusement and you know what I mean, some history, some heritage site. If you have one of them there, is a prohibited weapon, same way. You see what I say? If you have any part of a firearm, is a prohibited weapon. If you make something like a firearm, like you try to make an imitation firearm, it will be classified as a prohibited weapon. Same way, and it still carry the heavy sentence of life imprisonment. You get me, I say, people? So you have to be careful. You see me? When you find certain things on road, if you not take it and carry it to a police station, you make it stay right which part it there. Yeah. You see me, I say, people? So peeps, so section 4 says, unless otherwise specifically provided in this act, no person shall apply or no person shall be in possession of any firearm or ammunition unless you have applied for a firearm to the firearms licensing authority and you have been issued with a legal firearm. So if you are in possession of a prohibited weapon, you can find yourself into serious problem because you have committed a felony and shall on conviction therefore before a circuit court be sentenced to imprisonment for such term of not less than 15 years nor more than 20 years, not more than 25 years, as the court considers appropriate. So people, this basically I say, if you get hold with an illegal firearm, you're going to find yourself in a prison for no less than 15 years. But sure enough people hear about that on the media. Some people take it for joke, but on a joke. No joke at all in the new firearms. Okay. Yeah, people, so as I go through, pick out some little part out of it and we run through. Because at the end of the day, as we say, a lot of persons not take that something as serious. I might tell you say it is serious. So no person shall manufacture a prohibited weapon. So all of the man them we used to make the little homemade gun them, and when they make a little homemade gun, because I want little homemade, when them go to court, the judge would normally just, you know what I mean, give them a little slap on the wrist and say go. Now the thing change. So if you are caught with a homemade firearm, you're gonna find yourself in a big problem. And in front of a circuit court, you will be sentenced to imprisonment for life. People, you hear that? So if you make a homemade firearm, it is considered as you manufacturing firearms. And as such, you can find yourself in prison for life. You know, back in the days, when a man get catch with a homemade gun, you know, a joke thing that, and them go to court, them pay a fine. Sometimes them have good lawyer, them get suspended sentence, and then basically walk free. Now the system change. You get me as a people, no joke, and the people them think no more. And here's another part that is very, very interesting. If you you do not necessarily need to be in possession of the firearm itself. I'm still talking about the homemade, the manufacturing. If you just need to be in possession of the blueprint or the plan You know what I mean? Some guide that is showing you how to design that firearm. Whether you print it off of the internet, whether your friend give it to you, whether you find it, as long as you are caught with the blueprint showing, giving instructions on how to manufacture a firearm, you can find yourself in prison. You know what I mean? Because on conviction before a circuit court, you'll be sentenced to imprisonment for life. And for having that is just for having the blueprint. You don't have the gun yet. You just have the paper, whether you find it or not. You know what I mean? Or you get it. And we are looking on life imprisonment for that. So people, and something for you take for joke. So you know, some persons from time to time, them see something through on a roadside, them don't know what, them take you up, them find themselves in a serious problem. So just ensure that you never find yourself with a digital blueprint of a prohibited weapon. You understand me, I say, people? Very serious. No person shall deal in a prohibited weapon. Meaning say, nobody is supposed to buy or sell gun unless you have the necessary license from the firearm licensing authority giving you the authority to deal in a firearms. So, and these are the circumstances under which a person will be treated as if they are dealing in a prohibited weapon. It's if the person buy or sell prohibited weapon or conducts any brokering in respect of prohibited weapons. Or if the person is in possession of 2 or more prohibited weapon or 20 rounds or more of ammunition. So people, if you have 20 rounds or more of ammunition in your possession, you won't be just charged for being in possession of the ammunition. You will be charged for dealing in prohibited weapon, and that is a bigger charge. You get to me as a people. So just merely having a firearm or just merely having a round in your pocket or merely having 5 rounds is different. But if you have 20, then you know say automatically is a bigger charge that. And conviction before a circuit court be sentenced to life imprisonment. You know, say people. So once you're dealing in prohibited weapon, you look upon a life sentence. A person shall not take in pawn for any. A person shall not take in pawn from any person, firearm or ammunition. People, this is not foreign, it's a Jamaica. You know, so we're foreign at some place like maybe Florida and some other state. People can pawn and gun, you know what I mean, and take money and so on. And then go back, the person who conduct the business, maybe sell the firearm and so on. Jamaica a different something. You understand me? I say big problem for do that. And a person who contravenes subsection 1 commits a felony and shall be liable on conviction before a circuit court to a fine or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 15 years. So you can go to prison or you can pay a fine for that aspect of it. You get me as the people for the pawn thing. You see me? But that really I go for the person that maybe have them legal firearm and they want to give a man for hold on maybe because them in a spot and they want some money and they want to get out of the spot. Them say, alright, hold my gun and lend me a piece of money and then me go carry back the money come give you and call it back my gun. You get me I say? Because sometimes persons find themselves in some desperate situation and desperate times call for desperate measures. You understand? So, so a person can find themselves in a big problem if them do that. And here's another section, people, that is very interesting. 13. So I say, no person shall do anything to a firearm which alters the ballistic signature of the firearm, convert into convert into a firearm anything which is not a firearm, or convert into a prohibited weapon anything which is not a prohibited weapon. A person who contravenes subsection 1 commits a felony and shall, upon conviction, therefore, before a circuit court, be liable to, in the case of contravention of subsection 1, A or B, to a fine for such term of not less than 15 years as the court considers appropriate. And if a person converts something that is not a prohibited weapon into a prohibited weapon, then you know that person will find themselves in prison for life. You understand, people? Yeah. So I tell us that the new Firearms Act is not something to play with. You know what I mean? It's something what people need to know, people need to understand it and work and know how to work with it and know how to keep themselves out of problem. You understand? Don't make nobody carry nothing come give you keep for them. You see what I say? Nobody come tell us if a hold this for me or hold that for me. No, don't do that. Yeah, people, so it's a lot, you know, say we not gonna have time to sit down and read out so much things. But I think we talk about the one them are more important. You get the say, people, and as it relates to threat and persons professing that they have, as it relates to threat and persons professing that they have firearms, a lot of persons, especially on the media, need to be very, very careful, because what they are doing, they are providing evidence to send themselves to prison and don't know. Because I see a lot of persons on the internet from time to time making threats and professing that they have their firearm and who they are going to shoot from who they're not going to shoot. You know, oftentimes you see things like that on TikTok Live where persons are disrespecting each other and threatening each other. And you have seen it where persons lose them life whilst being on TikTok, a bad up themselves, or them was on TikTok Live, a bad up themselves, then go on the road and people kill them. You get to know, people. So, because of all of them things that we are going, I can tell you this. If you on the internet a profess, say, have a firearm, and we are going to shoot and we are going to kill, and the person go to the police station and make a report to that effect, that you say you're going to threaten them, and them the screen record, you're recording where you say you have your gun and this and that, trust me, you have a case to answer to. So you can't just out here arbitrarily making threats and disrespecting people online all the time and making big talk all about firearms and how much people you kill and this and that and all sort of stupidness. You'll find yourself in a problem. You see what I say? As we say, once you profess say you have a firearm in order to gain an unlawful benefit, you will find yourself in prison if you are convicted in front of a circuit court for 15 years. You get me, as a people? So I don't want to take this new firearm thing for joke, and all of the persons them were out there when them hear we talk, them a laugh and take it for joke. You know what I mean? And I ask if the law go for police too, and so on and so forth. Of course the law go for police, the law go for everybody, but you have to remember what the wording says. One of the most important aspect of it is to gain an unlawful benefit. You know what I mean, people? So whether it be you want to extort a person, or you want to get the person to cooperate with you, or you want to apprehend that person, whichever way you look on it, it will be considered as if you have the firearm, people. So this new Firearms Act is really a deterrent, something to prevent persons from getting themselves involved with firearms. So I know something to scare you, because as long as you not involved in anything wrong, you're not involved in anything illegal, no criminal activity, you know, mix up with gun and gun business, then you do have no problem. And next thing, you have some people, them love find things and take it and carry go at them yard. People, some of the time, you take up some things and you don't know what you take up. You see some things on road and you feel leave it alone. Because if you are found with any empty casing in your position, then you're in a problem. Same way. Empty, when I talk about empty casing, it's the same thing that person's called pen shell. Something will come off of the gunshot, the part to carry the gunpowder, the propellant. Yeah. You can tell you, say, if you find one of that, take it and have it in your car, take it and have it in your house, then believe me, if the police find it, you're going to find yourself in a problem. You understand? So, and you will see something on the road, you see a little some metal or something throw down, it look nice, you know what I mean? And a full firearm, but it's part of a firearm, then it is you will be charged for being in possession of a prohibited weapon. You understand? So ensure say you stay clean and keep clean, because them say knowledge is power, and a lot of persons are not interested in reading, and that is the reason why somehow we get circled all the time. People go around me, and it's like we don't know what we are for. You see me? So, in future, people, be vigilant, be alert. Don't allow any and anybody to come around. Worse if there are persons of questionable character, people where you know some might involve with gun business and them something there, because you know what, nobody if come leave nothing on your house, because it can land you in prison for life. It's as a people too serious, and that's the reason why I decide say I'm gonna do a video and talk about it a little bit. You see me? It is there for everyone to see for themselves. And the people them will love buy the tie gun and give it to them children, trust me, you don't need to cut it out. You see what I say? Cut it out. Because you don't know if somebody else might pick it up and have it stick up in them waist and walk up and down with like a real gun and find themselves in a problem and then say, yeah, them get it from. You know, some people, when them broke and don't have no money, I'm on feel like so, because you look like one gun if you take it and go stick up somebody and try to rob them, if you take them things. You see what I say? So the law is there to mitigate against all of that. All of them wrongdoings there. So the new Firearms Act is not because authorities just want to send anybody to prison. The new Firearms Act is because people, they are trying to prevent persons from getting themselves involved with firearms. Anyways, people, for all who tune in, thanks for tuning in. You know what I mean? Next week again, we'll be here with something different. So enjoy the rest of the day. You know what I mean? If you drive, drive safe. If you walk, walk safe. If you're on the job, have a pleasant one. Blessings to you all. I'm out.